Hello, welcome to Nigeria's leading technology and business analysis tech show on television with Don Pedro Agambi. You know what we do here every week, don't you? We look at issues, trends, developments in the global ICT industry. Today, we have an incredible package for you. Stay with us.
Today, digitization is life. So every sector you see running, no matter how slow or how fast it is running because of digitization.
One thing I think that we can do and should do is move our education from a theoretical perspective to a skill-based perspective.
In case you just joined us, you're watching Africa's numero uno tech show on television. When we come back from this quick break, you'll meet our tech personality of the week.
Until we understand that actually the potential and the capacity of nations lies in the heads and minds of human beings and not under the ground, it's a country going nowhere.
Our tech personality of the week is the Chief Executive Officer of CloudFlex, one of Nigeria's leading cloud technologies company. I'm sure you will like this.
Aderemi Adejumo. Aderemi Adejumo is a pristine CEO and unsung hero of the Nigerian Information Communications Technology ICT space. He is currently the Managing Director, CloudFlex Computing Service Limited, armed with a civil engineering degree from City University, London, and an MBA from the Université Catholique de Louvain, Belgium. He has more than 30 years' experience in technology, having worked in the United Kingdom, France, Belgium, and Switzerland before moving back to Nigeria. He is a Microsoft certified database expert and an expert in cloud computing with extensive experience, having worked in a number of blue chip companies, namely NatWest Group, Citibank, UBS AG, Carrefour, IBM, and Compaq. Mr. Aderemi Adejumo implemented a private cloud at EcoBank and was responsible for the migration and integration of the Oceanic Data Center into EcoBank Data Center, moving over 92 applications seamlessly. He is famed for designing and implementing the first public enterprise cloud platform in Nigeria. Mr. Adejumo has written several published articles and is passionate about the development of cloud computing in Nigeria. Undoubtedly, his contributions is helping to move Nigeria forward. Let's welcome Aderemi Adejumo.
Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
In layman's terms, what is cloud computing and what is the advantage of it to business and the economy?
Basically, cloud computing is providing an alternative to physical servers that you'll have in your premises. So by having virtual servers in a data center where all the ancillary stuff is provided for you, the power, the cooling, and the networking. And there's a huge savings in that because there's economy of scale, and you don't have to worry about that in terms of expansion and in terms of the growth. So that's basically what cloud computing is. The advantage is that you save money. You save about 70% of your total cost of ownership. And the advantage to business is that it's allowing business to be able to do what they need or provide services for them at a lower cost than what they would do if they're doing it by themselves.
So what do you mean by software as a service?
Okay, software as a service is actually, when you look at it, there are three layers in terms of the stack in cloud computing. You have the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. You have platform as a service, and then software as a service. So basically, IaaS is the hardware. Platform is the software that's there, and the software as a service is the application that runs. And it's called software as a service because what you're doing is that you're actually just paying for it as you go. So one of the most common examples of that is Office 365. Previously, you had to buy your Microsoft Office license for your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but now you can pay a monthly subscription, which is quite a low price for using that software. And that's what you term software as a service. The largest software as a service company in the world is Salesforce. So they're the ones that sell the most. And basically it's a sales CRM platform and all that. And you can use it as a service. The advantage for that is that you don't have to do the complex configuration of setting it up. So if you wanted to set up that application in-house, you would pay for the time, the experts to come and set it up for you and things like that. But if you have it as a service or have it as a SaaS, you just use it out of the box and you can, kick off immediately on that.
How important is data recovery in cloud computing?
There's a lot of data redundancy, so it's not as simple as a data recovery. What you have is that there's a lot of redundancy in cloud computing, so which secures your data from loss or from corruption. So the way the cloud computing platform is set up, it's set up to allow for some backups and redundancy such that if there's a problem, your data is still intact and you can still run. That's another advantage of cloud computing over on-premise. There's a lot more resources, a lot more facilities, and a lot more resilience than what you would have by doing it yourself.
Why should Nigeria go cloud?
Funny enough, cloud has been a growth area pre-COVID. COVID has only accelerated it because of that separation of individuals where you can't get to places. For example, you can't travel from A to B. So a lot of the things are done, your collaboration, video conferencing, all of this sits on cloud computing. So that's what's led to the growth of cloud computing. Because where countries have not allowed the movement of business, also where you're trying to protect yourself from others by not gathering. And you find nowadays most people suggest a video conferencing meeting as opposed to a physical meeting. And all that is sitting on cloud computing. And also on another side, the pandemic has hit the economy very, very hard. So for a lot of companies, there's a huge reduction in revenue. So you want to continue business, but you want to continue business with less revenue and less amount to spend on your infrastructure and on your tools. So the way to do the same and more with less is by going cloud rather than buying physical infrastructure.
How would you describe Nigeria's preparedness regarding cloud service? Do we have the infrastructure for it?
Nigeria is very prepared for it. We have at least 11 world-class data centers. We have, last count, about 5 or 6 cloud companies who own their own infrastructure, and that is growing. And the capacity is also growing every day as we speak. So Nigeria has internal capacity and also has the ability to house the data as required. But unfortunately, what's happening today is that more than 90% of the people who are seeking or using cloud computing are actually sitting abroad. They're not within Nigeria, which is a huge problem from a data localization point of view. And from a legal standpoint, there's a lot of danger in that.
What ways do you think that agencies like NIDA can come in to ensure that it's properly localized?
People get it wrong. It's not about what we're saying is that local data should be local. We're not talking of the fact that private companies cannot house their data abroad. But the key thing to remember is that if your data is local, you're subject to Nigerian laws. As a Nigerian company, being subject to Nigerian laws aligns with everything that you're doing. The challenge, and this is just to give you an example, there is a conflict at the moment between America and Europe based on this. Because what America has done is that since 9/11, their laws have been to have the right to seize or to look at any data that they wish to do, just for their protection and things like that. Now, that goes against the GDPR, which is the European law for data privacy, which says your data is yours. You have to give someone permission to look or touch your data. American law says the American government has the right to take any data or seize any data that sits on an American company platform. So that's in direct conflict. If you now compare that with Nigeria, that we have what they call the NDPR, which is Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, but our regulation does not have any legal backing in order for it to be enforced. So we're not enforcing that, and that's actually done by NIDDA. And going beyond that, so NIDDA, the Ministry of Communication, and also the three major regulators we have, who are CBN, NICOM, and PENCOM, are not doing anything about putting a structure in place for the localization of data. If they did that, it would help the economy, because it means that you will not have the money going abroad, which is over $400 million that's going abroad, and especially what we've seen in the news in the last couple of weeks of the pressure on the exchange rate. It's adding to the pressure of the exchange rate. It's denying oxygen to the local companies to grow and to do business. And it's also denying the growth of technology in Nigeria. So these things need to be done so that we can enhance, encourage, and grow local tech and local skills that we have here. Another thing you look at is, I was reading something today, that fintech, despite the slow economy, fintech is growing rapidly in Nigeria. And you ask yourself, fintech should be on a cloud platform. So which cloud are they sitting on? So Nigerian fintech doing business in Nigeria, but they're sitting on the cloud outside of Nigeria. So again, it's missed opportunity, missed revenue, missed taxation and all that, because all that is going outside of our economy and infrastructure and growing other economies rather than growing our own economy.
What is the essence of hosting data in cloud in the era of big data and, occasioned by AI and IoT?
If you look at it, they say technology is the new oil. They say that, the future of computing is AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and IoT. But all these things need big data, because the bigger the data, the more accurate the predictions, the more accurate the function of your AI, your machine learning. So basically, for people who don't really understand that, what it is that machine learning, artificial intelligence, is trying to use technology to mimic human behavior or human task or chores. So, for example, to give you a very practical example, one of the things that's done is banks process a lot of data in terms of, for example, they do the KYC. So that exercise alone takes them months, if not years. And before they finish all their customers, they're back to square one to do it again. Now, if they moved all that into an AI or machine learning environment, it can do it in a matter of days. So what you use it for is you predict behavior, and it's also a good way for business to be more accurate in terms of predicting what people's needs are and making sure that you adequately accommodate those needs. So all that depends on a huge amount of data. Such data can only exist in the cloud. It's not something that one individual or one entity can have, because you're talking of the cumulative data of different organizations, of different bodies together, and mining that data to bring out the patterns and predictions which are used for AI or for machine learning. So that's what it's all about in terms of when you talk of big data, Hadoop, data lakes. These are all terms to describe large amount of data that are used as a foundation for these functions.
Will you advise hybrid hosting today?
Some people, they still want to have a portion of their infrastructure on-premise, and that's what the hybrid is about. They're partly on-premise, partly in the cloud. There might be a requirement for that. It's like a business decision, a business need, because for their business, they need to function that way. But if you go back and look at what cloud is all about the fact that you don't have to manage the infrastructure yourself. So there's a cost saving there, because those that manage the infrastructure are doing it for several people, so there's an economy of scale. And then on the other hand, also what you got to look at is that by moving or having things in the cloud, there's also the ability for we talk of agility, we talk of the elasticity. What that's all about is that when you need more resources, and that talks to hybrid. So for example, you've got an installation in-house, you're connected into the cloud. What the cloud does for you is a way of getting additional resources without you having to do the purchase or having to go out and add machines to your on-premise installation. Because if you're going to buy a physical machine, you have a lead time of, a turnaround time of 6 to 12 weeks. If you want extra resources in the cloud, you can get that in 24 hours. So that's the advantage of that, and looking at a hybrid and looking at cloud computing as to complement whatever your infrastructure is.
How big is security in cloud computing, and how can we guarantee it?
Security is a big deal, and security is quite an important question, even in terms of what we've seen in terms of ransomware, which is where rogue hackers take over your system, and then they kidnap your data for a ransom, is what ransomware is all about. That's one of the biggest threats to infrastructure at the moment. The other thing is, yes, there's security in terms of the fact that as we grow and as we push our financial transactions into the cloud, into more tech, tech-orientated solutions, it leaves us exposed from a security point of view. So we're constantly working to both secure the cloud platform and to secure the process so that people aren't losing money, losing data, and being inconvenienced by rogue elements or by such nefarious acts that are perpetrated. So I would say cloud security is far more secure than on-premise. That's one of the things people don't realize, that I can secure your data much better than you can for yourself, simply because they say 70% of problems comes from people around you. So if people don't know where your data is or how your data is, it's much more difficult for them to get to it than if they know where you are and where your data is. So that's just basically the advantage of the security advantage of cloud computing.
The founder of Digital Innovation Bed Africa presented an award to you as an outstanding promoter. Last week at the Titans of Tech, your organization CloudFlex also bagged the most innovative cloud storage provider of the year award. How does this come to you?
Well, I mean, we are grateful for the recognition, and we really are humbled and appreciate it. We've been doing this for 6 years now because we felt that there's a gap in the Nigerian market of somebody to grow from the ground up, creating an infrastructure and giving this service for companies in Nigeria. We have 2 or 3 large companies that came on board just before the lockdown with us last year. And I think we contributed immensely to their uninterrupted service of their business, because they didn't have to skip a beat when the lockdown happened, that all their staff, numbering nearly 200, could work from home and work uninterrupted without any extra arrangements based on the architecture that we had set up for them for their business. So that's the advantage of cloud computing. I think people need to understand it more, and people need to trust what we have locally is just as good as anything else anywhere else in the world. And with that, I think they would appreciate the work we're doing and the fact that we are making the country more relevant in the world terms and all that. And our expansion, our growth is to be the leaders within West Africa. So as the economy grows, as the awareness grows, we want to expand into the neighboring countries and provide the same service for them, because that's where Nigeria should be on the map. We should be the hub of providing the advance in technology and providing these services to our neighbors and our fellow countries in West Africa.
And my final question to you, Mr. Aderemi, is this government taking advantage of cloud computing?
In one sentence, definitely not.
Thank you indeed for your time. Thank you indeed. Thank you. That was our tech personality of the week, Mr. Aderemi Adejumo, CEO of CloudFlex.